Hey everyone, welcome to the TD Bank Garden. Russ and I are on location here. Russ wearing the hat that they gave the media last night.
Yeah, how ironic that the TD Garden is for Toronto Dominion Bank.
Yeah, I know it's a Toronto bank. I know.
Money's money, Mike.
Yeah,
I bank with TD.
Yeah, I used to.
I do too. I have a card.
I had a falling out, and I can never go to Ecuador again. But besides that, yeah. But with TD Bank, yeah, that's all good. So yeah, that's where we are. We'll show you a little bit around. We're just, we're in the big stadium here. There's the big scoreboard up there.
Yeah,
we have to end the show, or else we'll have to sleep here.
You mean the scoreboard where a Bruins fan during one of the TV timeouts flipped the bird to 18,000 people?
Yes, but it wasn't shown 100%. I saw a portion.
In the first version.
Okay, don't move your computer again.
I just did this now.
Yeah.
Twisted my ankle right now. What I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to get the chat room up first, guys. 1 second, okay?
All right, yeah, because right now it was perfect until you moved the computer.
I don't know.
Okay, no, we're okay.
It's perfect now.
It was just slowing down for.
It's gonna get weird for a second.
No, we're okay.
Just while I do 1 second, it'll get weird. It's gonna get better. I just have to get the YouTube. I'm trying to get the chat room up for the kids back home. Okay, so 1 second. As soon as I get that, I'll stop moving everything.
Chat room.
Well, Russ has it's tradition. Russ.
Well.
You see what we're saying? Yeah. So anyway,
we know they're gonna rip my shirt.
So it's raining today in Boston. Yes, it's raining today in Boston, which is it's really cold. Like I wore this short sleeve shirt. I'm so screwed.
Not me. And the Sox are going to be a rain out.
Yeah, the Red Sox are going to rain out.
By the way, Russ, when you come to Buffalo, the Syracuse Mets will be in town. So if you want to make the religious pilgrimage and go see Tim Tebow, he'll be here.
Can we go that Thursday?
If it's an afternoon game, sure.
Oh, that would be great. Let me know.
I'll check the schedule. But anyway, I'm
not going to cheer for Tim Tebow, but I do want to see the team.
I'm sure everybody's really interested in our personal schedules here.
Yeah,
and everybody else is invited too.
Right to this, I got to go pay for my parking meter because that's almost out. So and then we're going to try to get good clam chowder because they say they have it in this town.
Just text Mike Babcock. He'll tell you where to get good clam chowder.
Chris, if you donate to Patreon, we can get a green screen.
This is a green screen, Chris. Isn't it good?
Exactly.
Really quality, high quality.
They're really in New Jersey.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, we're in Secaucus.
We're in Secaucus. There you go. Home of WR. And
actually, the way it's working right now, what's even more amazing is Russ is in West Orange. I'm in Secaucus.
There you go.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal. So how about that, huh?
Okay. I'd rather be in Secaucus than West Orange.
Yeah,
it's too snooty.
I can't see anything. Sorry, 1 second, hold on, guys.
I can see it. What is your problem?
Can you read the
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I'm the guy without glasses, and I can read it.
I can't read anything. I've got 3 pairs of glasses with me, and none of them work.
Okay.
Anyway, all right.
Let's start the show.
Yes.
Let's start the show.
You got it. It's the 28th.
That's correct.
Hello. Hello, Hockey World. It's Tuesday, May 28th. No, it's not. Yeah. I'm sorry. Hello, Hockey World. It's Tuesday, May 28th, 2019.
I'm Michael Lagello.
I'm Peter Tessier in very temperate Winnipeg. It's warm out.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology, and it's raining cats and dogs here.
But not in here in the TD Bank, where we are right now, the TD Bank Garden.
Yeah, can I make a withdrawal?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably. No, good service charges. But anyway, no, we're in the TD Bank Garden. They had the skates. There's an optional skate for the Blues. Russ got to the press conference, has a really good Binnington story, which we're going to share. We'd probably start with that. But then we'll get into the game. But what was Binnington? That was great. You got to
so
Russ.
Torrey Krug, I guess after the big hit yesterday, skated by Binnington. So the press asked him, "Did he say anything to you?" And Binnington's like, he didn't really say anything, but he stared, and his pupils were really large. So I wonder if he was on something.
Jeez,
way to go, Binnington. I know. The other fun moment with Binnington was the Boston crowd trying to chant Binnington, and the idea of Binnington, you have to chant 2-syllable words first of all.
Jordan. How about Jordan?
Right, but they haven't thought of that.
For some reason, they haven't yet figured out that his first name is Jordan. So like Bennington, and it was really just not working. And we were all, are they trying to say something kind of thing?
They know how to chant Jeter. I mean, they should have figured it out.
Did I say something about the Bruins fans? Because they're not here right now. And if they were, they would kill me if I said this. All of you people. No, but here's the thing about Boston fans. They are used to winning now because all their sports teams have won. I really felt a difference. I don't know. Eric said this to me too. A different sense of this building was weird for a Stanley Cup final. I mean, they were into it. They're very like, they're crazy. They're raucous.
No, they're raucous. I mean, it was loud.
But there's also this like arrogance that they are going to win.
Well, you're in Titletown. That is a thing.
In Titletown?
This is Titletown. And
Green Bay?
When it wasn't Titletown, then it had a different feel. Like in 2011, it had a different feel. But
Titletown's Green Bay.
No, it's here now.
Okay, sure.
I'm like,
but between the Red Sox and the Celtics and and the other team, the Patriots.
The Patriots.
Between all those teams, you have these people who are very, very accustomed to winning. And we were talking to Ty Anderson earlier, friend of the shows, of course, and going to be back on the show in the near future, hopefully. And Ty,
he dresses like a golf pro now.
Ty has really cleaned up his act. Like Ty went from like being really scruffily Ty, with all his face like crazy. He does still have his tattoos, of course. He didn't have them lasered off. I said he did them scraped off now. He did very much look like he was like
a golf pro.
Out of the crew catalog, basically.
Yeah.
See, I'm carrying on the scruffy Hockey Buzz banner right here.
Sorry, that was very funny.
It took a minute.
Rest of the Jake Life for Children, because Ty is about this small. Like he is really short, but a great guy. But he does definitely looks like a good.
Actually, Ty brought up something very interesting about the city, and I experienced it today because I saw people like holding their heads in traffic. There's more people than they have infrastructure here. So like you could be like I'm about.
Is right.
Yeah.
Take like 40 minutes because there's
your audio and video are cutting in and out. So I don't know. I don't know.
Rest. All right.
Can you hear me, guys?
Better?
No, it's just
you can't hear us.
But it's cutting in and out. Why don't you log off and log back on? I'll send you another invite, and Peter and I can carry on until.
Yeah.
All right.
You don't have to invite.
We can talk about what the unbiased people didn't see.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Yes. Well, and right. Well, and honestly, it's like Peter, I'm not one to be the guy who cries about officiating, and I don't have a vested stake in this cup final. I'm just watching it as a fan. Although yesterday I made the observation, and I'm sure Russ would roll his eyes when I mentioned this, because Pierre LeBrun mentioned about one of the missed calls yesterday. He says this must be missed referee call day because this is the 26th anniversary of the Gretzky-Gilmore atrocity. Last night, Boston was the better team. They outshot them. They outchanced them
for a while.
For
the whole game, they finished off as the better team.
Especially in the middle of the game. I would say after St. Louis got the goal to make it 2-0, they
regrouped.
Right, they were in complete control. I mean, they held them without a shot for a long stretch, 10, 11 minutes. But again, the officiating was atrocious. The missed calls, the Zdeno Chara slash on Tyler Bozak's stick, shattering it. The ridiculous call, I think it was on Sammy Blaz on Connor Clifton, where he hits him along the boards, doesn't hit him into the boards, doesn't injure him, doesn't do anything, and they call a 2-minute penalty. And
this offseason or this postseason will go down as one of the most poorly officiated we have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And right now in the Stanley Cup final, the officiating crew in the NHL is already off.
Guys? Sorry.
Yeah, no, they're already off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
This isn't about whether it's I don't care if it's Boston, San Jose, Tampa, whoever is in the final. It's going to equal out, and Boston's going to get screwed at some point too, because that's how bad it is. And it just seems that in the Gary Bettman, Bill Daley State of the Unions, all to talking to all the all the talking heads out there, all the big media guns, no one seems to be able to get it into their heads that people are growing tired of this. They're very small sliver of a fan base in the pro sports market that is now competing with all of Canada watching the Toronto Raptors is losing their patience.
Well,
and that should be priority number one. And if there is a board of governors meeting or a GM's meeting and there's someone not on board with this, they should be told to find a replacement, because they are the ones who ultimately decide the NHL's direction. And if you can't see that there's a problem right now and that it's affecting the fan experience, you need to get out.
Well, let me just say this, and then you guys can respond. Last night I'm watching this game, and the call that really infuriated me the most was the penalty that ended up getting the power play that ended up being the game-winning goal, which was Sammy Blas's hit on Connor Clifton. That was not a penalty.
For sure.
It was not a penalty.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we knew.
Go ahead.
We knew in the press box that it was an acting job, right? But there's going to be more acting jobs in this series. It's not like that's never happened. I sat next to a former official yesterday, and I mentioned exactly what Peter said. I said fans are growing tired of it. They don't understand. And when there's four guys on the ice and even a linesman can make a judgment call on a hand pass and nobody claims to have seen it, I said it's a bad look. Because basically this guy who I was sitting next to, he actually read out the starting officials and he goes, these are the best officials. And I'm like, compared to what? Yeah. And that's when it started up the conversation.
Question, compared to what?
Yeah.
Which is a good point. Yeah.
And the series of plays that happened that resulted in Krug running down Robert Thomas is the most laughable series of a few seconds, because David Perron should have gotten a penalty for interference, for basically mugging Torrey Krug, for ripping off his helmet. The referee's standing right there. Nothing is called. Then Krug skates full speed from his own zone and hits Thomas. Now, he didn't hit the head, so that was fine. No mugging, no interference, no charging. What the hell is the purpose of a friggin' referee if you're not going to call what should be called and call what shouldn't be called? Because that's what's going on here right now.
I mean, I definitely think they had a big impact, but I mean, I don't think they were the reason that they were growing.
No.
I don't think they were the.
This is just now we're at there's only one game in town now. It's the Stanley Cup final, and at the start of the Stanley Cup final, nothing's changed. There's no memo went out to officials to be better, to care, to do something that makes common sense. Because right now, as a guy who coaches hockey, is on the board of governors of an association that has officials, I don't know what the rules of hockey are anymore. I have no clue, and I know guys who don't either. And that's what's really troubling.
I will tell you this.
I do that.
On sportsology.com, I did put in my article the entire Gary Bettman answer to video review.
Right.
He put the officials on notice. He said all the right things, but if you really look at that entire statement, there was a point where he put them on notice. So
he definitely did.
He's not happy about it, but he can't do anything midstream or won't do anything midstream.
Right.
So we're at this place now. But the only thing I say to Mike is, like, we all saw that too, right? But it didn't have any impact on anything. So some stuff you have to let go. Like here's
my thing with referees. It's always been this way with referees for me, is that referees are literally doing the best they can. I firmly believe that. I firmly believe they aren't trying to be bad referees. They aren't trying to screw up. They are working hard at it. Where they make mistakes is when their confidence is shot, just like a player would make mistakes with confidence shot. So where they get their confidence from is direction from above, and knowing what. The problem here is I don't think they're getting the right, the rules from above and the directions from above, and are really throwing them for a loop. And all these, like we've talked about before, what can be reviewed, what can't be reviewed, all that stuff is is throwing their confidence because they know it's going to be reviewed. They know they're going to be judged, and so they're doing the best they can. But honestly,
the whole point of video review is not to judge the refs; is to get the right call. That's the problem.
I do agree with you on that. But they're human beings. They're human beings.
So if you're to get the right call, you empower the officials to make whatever call it is, and you don't hold them accountable if it's wrong. If you're going to use video review, the problem is we're spending 20 minutes reviewing whether a skate's in the air, not if something's a dangerous hit, not if something is off the glass and out or on a dumb penalty to begin with. It's what video review is used for.
Now, I will tell you this: I don't think it's affecting the coaching because both coaches today basically said, hey, it's the Stanley Cup and rough stuff happens. Right. So they basically have told their guys, listen, you can't worry about these calls. Just go do whatever the hell you're going to do. So we're going to see a lot of that mugging going on and like basically daring the refs to call it.
Actually, I want it. This should be a physical series. At its best, this should be a physical series. So,
let me just say that all these calls I didn't think made a difference in the outcome of the game because the Bruins were the better of the two teams in Game 1. I know that stretch in the second period where St. Louis couldn't get a shot on goal. I mean, you can't. Binnington kept them in the game during that stretch. St. Louis has to be better. I mean, they started out well. They got up 2-0, and then the Bruins, I think, just completely took over the game. But to the point of, how these teams are going to play going forward, we know what St. Louis did to beat San Jose. They beat the crap out of them. They neutralized Erik Karlsson. They knocked 2 or 3 players out of that series physically. And you know what? For St. Louis to win this series, they're going to have to and I'm not saying target in terms of like being dirty with them. I'm saying play the game, target Bergeron, target Marchand, target Charlie McAvoy and Krug. Because if you neutralize the Bruins' ability to skate the puck out of their zone and you neutralize or try to neutralize their 2 best players, St. Louis might have a chance. If they don't do that, this is going to be 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Berube did himself a real disservice today because, like, we covered him a lot in Philly, and he was not very genuine in his press conference. He really didn't want to be there. Where Cassidy was giving some information, even though it was old. I was told he's been given the same information for 2 weeks.
He's very good at that.
But he did talk about one thing from last night's game. He mentioned again Columbus, how they adjusted when they slagged off. They figured that out.
Right.
Well, he did say in the second period that, hey, we saw that there was an opportunity for us to go wide with our speed, and they did. Mm-hmm. So basically, Cassidy's telling me and all fans, we adjusted. We got the win because we adjusted. Berube didn't talk about any adjustments, didn't seem to have do any adjustments, and didn't really help his team. So he got out-coached that game.
And they burned Edmondson and they burned Gunnarsson going wide. They're not really fast defensemen. And I think, we were talking about Vince Dunn.
It's a big key. I mean,
I think St. Louis, even if he's at 50%, they got to get him back in the lineup because
he skated right back just behind us.
Their defense is slow afoot, Russ, without Dunn back there because Parayko, Pietrangelo, and to a lesser extent Bouwmeester can skate, but the second half of their blue line is not very mobile.
Well, I mean, again, this is why I told people I picked the Bruins because if Dunn were 100%, I would have picked the Blues. But he's not going to be 100%, and his jaw's wired shut, and it's hard to play that way. Derek Stepan played that way, and he was good for a couple games, and then he started to lose it. You can't keep on weight, and on defense, that's even more grueling than playing a forward position. So he's going to help because he's just naturally faster than Bortuzzo, but he can't play 15 minutes in a game, I don't think.
I feel like there's a little bit of lazy reporting going on about this series because, like, listening today, I kept hearing people saying, okay, well, we knew the Bruins would be rusty, but once they shook the rust off, I think that's so overblown. Like, I really felt like
we felt like they were rusty for like 5 minutes in that first period,
but we barely. I mean, and the Blues just came out really strong. The Blues played a really strong period, and at the end of the day, I think once the Bruins did get some momentum, I mean, they got momentum off of a lucky goal. The first goal they got was pretty lucky, and they got it at the perfect time because they had just taken a 2-0 lead in St. Louis. Because at that point, there was definitely a sagging moment. But the Bruins get the lucky bounce off the goal, and then the Bruins start to roll. And I think the intensity of this building and the Bruins starting to roll all got to a St. Louis Blues team that hasn't played that many games in this kind of situation before, like a Stanley Cup final.
And I feel like Braden Shen scored that goal for all of Philadelphia too.
Yeah. Braden Shen was one of the best Blues on the ice for sure. And but I think that there was a common thing of, you got to remember that the Blues, I think it's only David Perron who's ever played in a Stanley Cup final,
right? And it's showing.
And I think last night they got nervous, because once that steamroller happens here with the momentum shifting, everything like that, that's a gut check time, and they started to make plays that they weren't making.
Well, it was the penalties.
I mean,
the Bruins' power play was off. Krug was missing the net, but when you give them 4 or 5 opportunities, they're going to start to click.
And then when you're not skating,
that was the difference in the game, because their penalty kill tired them out. So in the third period, the Blues were dead on their feet for a while.
Right, and you can say all you want to say about the fact that Blues should have gotten more power plays. The Blues weren't skating enough to draw.
No, they couldn't.
They had to skate. If they needed moments where they could actually try to draw a penalty, and they weren't drawing penalties. So you run in a situation where, I thought Binnington was really good.
He was. If you want to get, people always want to get on Binnington for like that one bad goal. And every goalie does it. And sure, if you want to get on him for the deflection, that's fine.
Yeah.
But for the people who don't send me texts, when he was on his back making spread eagle saves, he was getting his defense was getting destroyed again.
I don't know who was sending you texts for us. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, right. But the thing about this,
you aren't the only one.
But Binnington also does have a little bit of that Marc-Andre Fleury disease.
He does,
which is when your team is down and not getting any offense, and you're not getting anywhere, and you're just getting pounded. He starts to overhandle the puck, overplay the puck to try to create something, because he can't do. The goalie obviously can't score goals. So the best you can do is to try to create some movement forward. So he started overhandling the puck, and he's not a terrible puck handler at all. But he was handling it too often, too much, and that started to wear on him. And he's the rookie, he's the one. He's obviously shown like this comment today, incredible amounts of maturity and great stuff. And the leadership, goalie, your goalie can't be your leader on the, and I think that was the issue. The last thing I'll say about the thing that I really noticed about Boston was, and it goes kind of to the fans again, who they all think they can win all the time because they just win championships all the time. The Bruins, I tweeted this out. I think when the Bruins think they can beat you, you're done. Like the Bruins are really feed off their confidence. Like they were a different team until they got that first goal. But the second the Bruins felt like they could skate, when they felt like they could go around,
passing got better, everything got better.
They're one of the toughest teams in the league to beat when they think they can beat you. Yes. And they weren't sure in the beginning of the game, but midway through the second period, they knew they could beat the Blues, and they just took it. They just took it and ran with it, and it was hard for the Blues to keep up at all. But I still think we got to pump the brakes on this being like a quick series.
I know everybody's texting me it's going to be a sweep. I'm not sure of that either.
It's possible, of course, because the Bruins are playing that well.
Yeah.
But also Rask, wasn't spectacular. He didn't have to be, but
he was pretty good though.
He made the first. I thought the first goal was he would have won it back. He was he was good. Both goalies were good, but I do think that coaching Berube just got a little bit outcoached.
I want to mention this to everybody on the panel, and we can go around with this. But in the press conference today, I felt like Colton Parayko came up short.
Yeah.
Because to me, where's the offense? He had one shot that got in on net that I noticed.
Yeah.
He didn't really do much.
He was really focused on stopping that top line.
But you know what? He's got to play offensively. Yeah. And Peter Angelo's banged up, right? So his offense isn't going to be the same. So if the Blues don't get offense from Parayko or Peter Angelo, and Bouwmeester's not dialing it back, that's not good, because the blue line definitely is a big point producer for them, and it wasn't yesterday.
But Bouwmeester definitely has found it like a fountain of youth, though. He was flying.
He was flying.
He looked
but,
good.
But again, those guys have to score some goals too if the forwards aren't.
Peter, go ahead.
Go, Peter.
No, I was just answering a text from a work colleague, but one thing I'll say here is I don't think the Bruins can rely on the Blues coming out and getting lost for 10 minutes in a game again. I think the Blues are going to learn, and they're going to learn, and they're quick learners. They won't let that happen again. And so this series is going to it got a little too easy for Boston at points. And yes, the Blues are chasing the play a little bit. They took some penalties, whether you like them or not, whatever. You can't let someone get on the power play who's running 34% in the playoffs. You can't do that.
Right. True, you can't.
That's right. Multiple power plays.
Multiple, yeah. You can't allow that to happen. That's coming from the coaches. It's coming from down. You can't let that happen.
Yeah.
So Berube has gotten through to these guys, He makes changes. He may not have been entirely happy and everything, but they're going to adjust, and the Bruins won't have as easy a game through the middle frame.
Was Berube's line matching any good? I'm not sure it was.
No, but you know what I noticed. You know what I noticed more than anything yesterday, and I know that the analytics crowd, they demean and reduce the importance of face-offs. How many of the Bruins set plays? They ran like 3 or 4 different set plays off of face-offs. Yeah. And the one that early in the game where Pasternak had that one-timer that almost beat Binnington, but they had a couple others that were really, really good chances. And I really think that the Blues, especially O'Reilly and Bozak, who are 2 pretty good face-off guys, have to at least go 50% against guys like Krejci and Bergeron.
And we talked about that pre-series. That's a big thing. They got killed on it. You're right.
They really do.
And O'Reilly and Bozak are good face-off guys. So, and Bozak has faced Bergeron and Krejci for years in Toronto, so he should know the tricks of the trade there. But if they keep winning face-offs and get offensive zone puck possession, and guys like Krug and McAvoy get their shots through from the point, it's going to be deadly for the Blues.
Yeah, Bozak was the best cliche guy today, by the way. But I do want to say this to Thomas. Thomas mentioned how Charlie Coyle's a local guy. So I was in the locker room when Charlie Coyle talked about this today. And I look, Thomas, I can't give out everything, right? Because otherwise I won't have anything to write about. But he did say, hey, it would have been nice if he'd have gone to school here, like college. And it would have been nice if he had played here with the Bruins earlier. But then he said, you know what? It may have been better that I went away first and matured and everything. And you know what? He's right. Yeah. Because otherwise, you stay in the local area, and it's a big area, and there's a lot of expectations. It could have turned out differently for Coyle. The path that he took was probably better.
The guy who was traded for Donato, he did that thing, and it was rough on him.
Yeah,
and he was a good player, but it is hard, especially in this town, because it was funny. They were talking. Somebody asked them about if you figured out the ticket situation, because when you have the Stanley Cup, in your hometown, everybody wants tickets, right? And they said that they figured that out the day after the last series, so 10 days ago. They had the whole ticket thing was done. They just wiped it out. That was it. One day, 24 hours basically. The said 24 hours to tell us how many tickets you need. We'll give you as many as we can, and then that's it. No more answers, no more questions.
I think
really good. That gets them out of the focus.
I think one more thing we can learn from the Bruins in this playoffs is the fallacy that you can't make a trade at the deadline and help you. They've Coyle has helped them. He's played really well. He played great against Toronto. He's played consistently well in throughout the playoffs. And Marcus Johansson, who they got for a second-round pick from New Jersey, has been great. So
but I think we expected that, and he is a guy that won a cup last year. It was a hell of a pickup.
No, he was with New Jersey last year.
Oh, that's right. He was Jersey last year too. Yeah.
But the thing with the Bruins, the difference between the Bruins and the Sharks for the Blues is that the Bruins, third and fourth liners, are all tough as nails, and they have a lot of physicality to them. So it's you can't. I mean, you could bother they don't have a Donskoy on there. They don't have that kind of player.
No, but Chris Wagner and Corrali and Achari, they can all play the tough game, and they're fast. Enough. They're fast enough. Whereas I noticed Alex Steen on one of the shifts in the second period, he could barely move. And go ahead.
No, you're right, Mike. I'm going to mention something about Corrali, and I wrote about this today. I wrote about him earlier in the year when he came in Philly, and I've always been a fan of him, and he had a really good game against the Flyers, and I wrote about Corrali. Yesterday, it's easy to write about his goal, but what I noticed late in the game was he was the best guy trying to end the game by not trying to shoot for the open net, by gently placing the puck in the zone for St. Louis and making them start over. And he was almost to the point of falling down, and he would just gently push the puck over the line. Right. So this way St. Louis would have to skate to it. Very smart, great penalty killing instincts. He's always had that, and that's why he was one of their best players. Literally, you could write about or talk about all their big guns. Yeah. He was massive for them, and he's been massive for them all year, even though he's only got 3 goals.
And they've done a really good job, and they feel like the Bruins to me feel like they obviously have one of the best first lines in hockey, no questions about it, and they're fun to watch. And Marchand is so much more just hockey talented than people ever give him credit for. Like the things he does are just
he's an incredible talent. He's also an
really
incredible
talented.
pain in the ass.
Well, he's a pain in the ass, but he is also he's probably one of the more talented pain in the ass who's ever played the game.
Right, that spinorama backhand that he made.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
And the big game player. Like he finds moments in big games to do that kind of stuff too. Like
Russ,
that's the thing.
That backhand was harder than most guys' wrist shots.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. But the Bruins really have they have that top line, and then it feels like they have 3 third lines. Like it feels like they, because and you don't know which one's out. It doesn't really. I mean, I know they have a technical second line, but the other lines are coming up so well. The third and fourth line are coming up so well that they are like third lines.
Now, Berube said something really funny that I didn't really account for, and I don't think anybody in the media did. He actually played with Chara on the Islanders for a short time.
That's really funny.
That's hilarious. I had to think about that.
I hold the. This is how old Chara is. I saw Chara play his first preseason game with the Islanders in the Spectrum. Wow. All right, so it was the last year of the Spectrum,
and the next game he played at the Memorial Auditorium. No, just kidding.
Oh my God, it's just crazy. Like in the Spectrum, I saw Chara play.
Wait, hold on. Somebody in the chat room did something bad because it says this message is held
I get this.
for
I get this
review.
all the time. You don't have this yearly, but if someone says something,
so you have to review it.
Yeah.
So they're probably just making fun of Mike. All right.
If you use language or
Well, that's not a bad thing. That's just a stupid thing.
You use a curse word or say Marchand's name. It usually.
Yeah. Okay. Rat, weasel. How about that? No. Let's. Why don't we switch to the news of the day? The hiring of Dave Tippett in Edmonton.
I don't think that's the news of the day. The news of the day is the Sheldon Keith signing, and I know that we don't like.
I'll talk about that too because
I know you're being good, trying not to be Toronto based, but this is actually big news. Okay, let's play this out for a second. You're Sheldon Keith, right? You are obviously one of the most sought after coaches in hockey. Right. There's no question that you've been 3 or 4 times the Leafs have blocked you from interviewing with other teams, which is really rare in this day and age.
Just on that point. I have not been able to confirm, and nobody has been able to confirm whether Keefe was blocked because the one team that was interested in him this go around was Buffalo. There was no indication.
I heard that happened this time. I got it it's confirmed as well. It's again, and then twice last year, 2 other teams. Okay, so to me, here's a guy. Okay, his contract is up. All right, so his contract is up. So if you're Sheldon Keefe and you've been blocked from kicking an NHL job and you're being forced to stay as an AHL head coach, why would you sign an extension? To me, this is like the most telling thing in the world. Like, so obviously he knows he signs an extension to stay in the AHL. Like, there's no reason that he would do that unless he had a very, very good idea that he was going to be head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs very soon.
Sure,
within a couple of years.
Honestly, This is not that big. This is not that big of a new. First of all, the rumors of him signing an extension happened in late March and early April.
Well, they've been there, but I know they've been there. But but I was always like, what? Why would you sign an extension unless
he's the heir apparent, Because
but it's more than just thinking you're the heir apparent. This is Dubas or somebody has told him this and he knows because there's no way you get him to stay in the AHL.
And I wrote about this in my blog today because what it does is it covers both bases. Keefe, it's a 2-year deal. It's not a 4-year deal. So after 2 years, if Mike Babcock does not get out of the first round in the next 2 years, he's fired. And Sheldon Keefe is the next head coach of the Maple Leafs. If he makes the Stanley Cup final or the conference final, the contract is short enough that Keefe can go out there and even after next year, if they are convinced that Babcock, now everything is on track and they make the conference final and everything is great and they're prepared to let Keefe go, then he could go someplace else with their blessing and then maybe in a couple years come back. But I think leave the options open for him. But go ahead, Peter. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, if I'm Sheldon Keefe, I'm making sure there's an option in that contract that I can get out. I'm not signing for 2 years.
And there might be
without some control in those 2 years. And I wonder what Mike Babcock's deal looks like on the backside of it too.
Well, it was a front-loaded deal, Peter.
I know, not the dollars.
What's that?
The exit. not the dollars.
It's exit strategy. Yeah.
One of the things that
what I think's happening here is I think that there's no question that he may have in his contract. We don't know this. We usually don't know, but I know people who've signed contracts recently that says you don't have to ask permission to talk to them. That actually does exist in the NHL. So every time, we always wonder we haven't asked permission to talk to that guy. So actually, some assistant general managers, some assistant coaches have it in their contract that they don't need it.
I do want to say it's dangerous though for Keith to sign this deal thinking that the other guy is going to go, because Dwight Schrute did the same thing waiting for Michael Scott to get fired, and it took an awfully long time.
Yeah, but I mean, the obscure reference.
It's totally lost on Mike.
Your references of The Office. I know.
Obscure office.
But no.
I'm
not saying that Keefe is basically twiddling his thumbs waiting. I'm just saying everybody knows that if Babcock does not get out of the first round, does not have some success in the next year or two, that the obvious choice is the guy that Kyle Dubas hired in Sault Ste. Marie against the complaints of others, that he brought to the Toronto Marlies, that he won a Calder Cup with, and that everybody thinks is a legitimate head coach prospect in the NHL. So, you're going to keep that guy, and he's on board with that. But if Babcock has some success, then, I think the relationship between Dubas and Keefe is good enough that he'll realize, okay, I can't hold this guy back. He's got a chance of getting a job. I'm going to let him go. But I think the odds are more likely that he's going to be the next Leaf coach down the line than Babcock. I don't think Babcock is going to finish out for 4 years. Let's just say that.
I honestly think that the pressure on Babcock is more than you're even letting on. I think if Babcock isn't in a strong position by American Thanksgiving, he's done. I think no way. No, because I think I honestly do, because I think he's almost done now. There are so many people that I've talked to over there that say that they aren't seeing eye to eye at all. And if you're a general manager and your coach are not seeing eye to eye at all, and your general manager's not playing the way he played the way he handled Matthews in the Boston series, just was horrendous, to the point where we talked about it was inside Matthews' head. Matthews isn't getting ice time, so Matthews asked, "How do you get ice time with Babcock?" Well, I got to play more defense. He played more defense, so Matthews is suddenly a defensive forward. That's not going to help you, right? The
one thing, Peter, I want your input on this. The one thing that I think that Kyle Dubas has to do, because you can't go into next season plotting out what you think is going to be better for you 3 or 4 years down the line. You've got to look at what's going to happen next year. And now with likely signing Mitch Marner to a long-term extension, making over $10 million, you're going to have three $10+ million players. You're in the position now after 3 first-round failures. If you're Kyle Dubas, you've got to make the big deal. The thing is, he is very influenced by what Masai Ujiri has done with the Toronto Raptors, making the Kawhi Leonard deal. I think that Dubas is going to make basically his version of the Kawhi Leonard deal this summer. He's going to make the trade for the big top pairing or top 4 defensemen. And if he doesn't, Babcock is on board with that. If he doesn't, he's creating the scenario for Babcock to lose his job.
And unfortunately, there's no one out there like Kawhi Leonard.
No, but we know that the NBA is different, and one player can have much more of an impact than in the NHL. But I'm talking about this team has needed that top 2, top 4 defensemen for over 3 years, and they've done Band-Aid fixes on bullet holes with Ron Hainsey and other bringing in
Audrey Liljegren, another prospect, and a draft pick next year, because you don't have any this year, for Subban. There's your deal.
Not Kadri.
I do want to give breaking news.
We got something here. Go ahead.
Because Bill C, mentioned it in the chat room. He wanted me to comment on Capo Keiko not attending the combine. He doesn't have to. Yeah, he knows there's one of 2 teams that will take him. Yeah. It's 99.9% the Rangers. Why does he have to go and do anything? He knows. Yeah, he knows exactly what his fate is. It won't matter.
He's just missing out on those great wings at the Anchor Bar, Ross.
There you go. I know. No, it's a shame, but he's definitely There's no question. There's no reason. He gains nothing by going. Absolutely nothing.
Now, if Jack Hughes skipped it, it would be a big deal.
Yeah.
because
especially
then
right now,
that was
based on
that
what's
the
happening.
league would actually say something to him if he tried to skip it. For
Now-
Kako, no big deal.
Now, what would be interesting, Russ, is if Podholzin misses it as well, the Russian.
Yeah, it didn't say he did. I just looked at a list, and he's not on it. Firstov is on it, who's a pretty good player, too. Slepitz is on it, who's a really good player. But Podkolzin is not on the list of guys that aren't attending. Now, here's what I feel bad about, though. There are guys that don't get invited.
Yeah.
And I wish they would go back and now invite some guys because these guys aren't going.
Yeah, space. Maybe they will.
Maybe they will. I mean, because that would be a great thing because
I mean, if I'm an agent and one of those guys doesn't get invited, that's the first call.
yeah,
I
like
make.
I interviewed a guy, Nick Ebersizi, and he is not invited, and he's a really good player, and he's a 20-year-old.
Yep.
It'd be nice if somebody would invite him now.
You know,
Yeah,
it's funny because we've gone to the combine the last few years, and it always strikes me like you think that going to the combine is a guarantee of being drafted. We interviewed somebody who was a grandson of an NHL player who was a ranked defenseman, and he went through 7 rounds and never got picked. So it's not a guarantee of being drafted.
No, and an example is I wrote about Noel Hoffenmeyer last year, who wasn't invited, got drafted, and now, of course, Arizona hasn't signed him yet. That's a whole other story.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to get going pretty soon, guys. Cut the show short today because I think they're about to do something here in the arena.
All right. Well,
we do want to touch base with Dave Tippett real fast before we do.
Yeah.
And Tippett, go ahead, Peter. You have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have thoughts on it, and it's basically, I'm sure he's paid a lot. I'm sure he is, he's probably going to be happy to be there. But mother of God, what was left? Like,
yeah,
it's this isn't, and that's not a shot at Dave Tippett. It's a shot at the Oilers because you gave yourself basically 2 options. One was going way off the board or Dave Tippett, and you chose Tippett.
Well, I was told by somebody. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Best of luck to him because he's going to.
Yeah, no, and I think that there's the thing, and I'm sorry to be wrapping up so fast. But I really, I do think that this is where the Oilers fans have to be happy about having Ken Holland because I don't think this gets done without Ken Holland.
I agree.
Tippett was pretty happy in Seattle, and I think he's just realized that he actually is going to take a chance, and it had to be some serious convincing by Holland to make this happen.
And I'll tell you the only thing I found interesting because we knew Dave for weeks already he was going to get hired, and it was just a matter of contract. The fact that it's only 3 years tells me that Tippett is not 100% that he would want to spend a long period of time there. So he gave himself an out by only going 3 years.
Now begins the ridiculous dream scenarios that we saw a couple days ago, Russ, where people are dreaming up scenarios of trading Milan Lucic for Bobby Ryan. It's like, give me a break. It's not going to happen.
Ryan could still skate and he could score a bit. It's more than Lucic. It's just
way more. All right, guys, we have to go. We'll be back again tomorrow. Enjoy your day off of hockey. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We will talk to you then.